it seems to be all up in arms. All the conspiracy theorists seem to be all up in arms because now Elon Musk is emboldening them by tweeting things like, "My pronouns are prosecute slash Fauci." Really? Really, Elon Musk? Awful. Just terrible, terrible take on everything. Not only is he just disregarding an entire culture of queer people, but he's also encouraging people to go harass a public figure and even encouraging them to threaten him. So all these people are now saying that they're vindicated just because Elon says so. That Fauci lied to Congress about gain-of-function research, blah, blah, blah. But Elon Musk, just sit down. You don't know what gain-of-function research is. You just learned the word like last year. So let me quickly just go over, for people who might not know, what the story is here and why Fauci did not lie about gain-of-function research. So the research being done in Wuhan was not gain-of-function, at least not what was funded by the NIH. The NIH funded the Wuhan Institute of Virology through the EcoHealth Alliance to conduct characterization research. They were funded to go out, search for viruses in the wild, and characterize them. How did they do this? Well, we know because they published a paper on it. So here's the paper that people were freaking out about and still are freaking out about. This is what Rand Paul showed Fauci in Congress and was like, "Dude, why were you funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan?" And Fauci said, "I was not." And he is correct, because this is the work that was funded. What they did was they found viruses in the wild, and then they wanted to ask, how do these viruses actually behave? So a dangerous way to do this might be to grow the actual virus itself and see how it performs in cell culture and in animals. These are completely new viruses that they're discovering. They don't know how dangerous they might be. So you don't want to grow them directly. No, you want to characterize their genes. So they have this bacterial artificial chromosome, which you can consider just a construct, a big string of nucleic acids, an artificial genome, if you will. And they call a clone of this WIV1. This is the backbone they use to study all of their viruses that they found in the wild. This is just a little picture, a little cartoon of what a bacterial artificial chromosome might look like. It's a circular piece of DNA with these little rectangular colored markers denoting where on the map there are genes encoded into this backbone. So what the researchers did was they just had a backbone that encoded for a coronavirus that they called WIV1. That coronavirus had a bunch of genes, including a spike gene. Right? So when they found and sequenced viruses from the wild, they would take that spike gene sequence that they discovered, cut it out of that virus, and paste it into this bacterial artificial chromosome and ask, hey, if we take this newly discovered spike protein and put it into something that we know how it behaves and it's already characterized, does that change how this thing behaves? They're characterizing it. They are characterizing the proteins from viruses that they found in the wild. How are you supposed to do this without doing those kinds of experiments? That's not gain-of-function research. That is characterization. Will there be instances where they do this and their backbone gains a function? Sure. But that's not gain-of-function research funded by the NIH. That is a consequence that might happen during this work. And it's what happens in every field of molecular biology. If you're studying E. coli, how E. coli works. If you're studying how tuberculosis works, how another virus works, you have to do these kinds of experiments. You have to actually characterize the proteins. You have to put them into different contexts. You have to mutate them. You have to do these things in order to understand how they work. So it becomes really useless, this term gain of function, when it's used outside this context of what the experiments actually set out to do. So if the researchers are setting out to actually enhance transmissibility or enhance pathogenicity in order to study the pathogens in that context, then that's gain of function research. But if we do characterization research and what we're characterizing gains a function because we put it into a new background, it's characterization research that is necessary for us to understand how these things work. So, to Elon Musk and anybody else who is saying prosecute Fauci because he lied, like he said, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's just getting ridiculous how even in Congress, they're allowed to just spew and say these things. It's ridiculous, and it's creating a disdain for science and a misunderstanding of science. It's just silly. So that's my rant for today. It's really just annoying to see the discourse on Twitter and people like the richest man in the world just giving the most lukewarm, stupid takes on really important things.